Somewhere in your house right now, there's a hole the size of a brick, hidden from your sight, cut into the wall near your foundation. It's not just one hole, though. It's a dozen small gaps spread out across the entire perimeter of your basement. When you add them all together, they amount to a 36 square inch opening in the side of your house. Cold air pours through it, day and night, every single day of the winter. And while your furnace struggles to keep up, it's running itself into an early grave, tirelessly working overtime. The Department of Energy estimates that air leaks in this very spot account for up to 25% of all air infiltration in your entire home, more than the leaks in your doors, windows, or even that attic hatch you thought was the problem. The fix? A simple $10 foam from the hardware store. You can tackle it in just an afternoon. This problem is located in what's known as the rim joist. If you've ever gone to your basement to change a furnace filter, grab a tool, or check a breaker panel, you've likely stared at it without even realizing it. It's that horizontal band of wood sitting right on top of your concrete foundation wall, where the basement ceiling meets the basement walls. In most unfinished basements, it's fully exposed. No drywall, no paint, no covering, just raw wood, concrete, and the seams between them. Those seams are the biggest air leak in your house. Here's why this matters. Every cold floor you feel in your kitchen during the depths of February, every draft you could never quite figure out, every winter your furnace runs longer than it should, all of it traces back to this one spot. A piece of wood you've never thought about. It's letting cold air from the outside creep directly into your basement while you sleep, while you work. And while the furnace runs a marathon against a race it was never meant to win. The Department of Energy's number is 25%, but that's just an estimate from their modeling. What happens when someone measures it in a real home? In 2007, a manufacturer named Handiome hired a certified HERS energy rater, a third-party auditor accredited by the U.S. government, to run a before and after blower door test on a standard home in Kansas. The home had fiberglass insulation at the rim joist. Standard construction, nothing special. They measured the baseline, then sprayed expanding foam into the rim joist area and ran the test again. Air infiltration across the entire house dropped by 11.4%. Estimated heating and cooling cost savings? 19.3%. And the engineer calculated that the total leakage area eliminated was 36.8 square inches, the size of that brick-sized hole we're talking about. Seeing that one simple fix was like closing that brick-sized hole in the side of the house. This is something the Building Science Corporation, a research organization that has written the modern American rulebook on home building, has documented for decades. Their lead engineer, Joseph Listerick, calls the seam where the wood framing meets the concrete foundation the critical seal of a building envelope. It's one of the most studied air leak locations in residential construction, and yet most homeowners have never even heard of it. Now, let me show you exactly what's happening. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Your house is essentially a chimney, not metaphorically, but physically. When the air inside is warmer than the air outside, the warm air rises and escapes through every little opening in your attic. Recessed lights, attic hatches, bathroom fans, plumbing stacks, you name it. As that warm air escapes from the top of the house, it creates negative pressure inside, and that negative pressure must be filled. So cold air from outside gets sucked in through every opening at the bottom of your house. The lowest major opening in most American homes is that seam where the wooden floor framing sits on the concrete foundation, those dozen tiny gaps spread all around the perimeter of your house, where the sill plate meets the concrete, where the rim joist meets the sill plate, where the subfloor meets the rim joist. Every wire, every pipe, every vent that punches through the framing. This system runs on temperature difference. The bigger the gap between inside and outside, the harder it works. Imagine January in Ohio. You've got a low-grade chimney, inhaling cold air through your basement and exhaling warm air out through the roof all day, all night. Your furnace isn't heating your house, it's heating a draft. Now here's the part that stopped me in my tracks when I was researching this. Your house probably isn't uninsulated at the rim joist. If you take a look up there right now, you might see pieces of pink or yellow fiberglass stuffed into the gaps between the floor joists. Builders have been doing this for 60 years. It's standard practice. But in reality, it does almost nothing to stop the leak. Fiberglass is a thermal barrier, not an air barrier. Air passes right through it. Think of it like a furnace filter. It slows the air down, catches dust, but doesn't actually stop the air from moving. The gaps behind the fiberglass are still wide open, and because fiberglass lets warm indoor air reach the cold wood behind it, in cold climates, that wood gets damp. And once it's damp, it stays damp. Eventually it rots. Fine Home Building magazine has documented cases where builders pulled fiberglass bats out of 30-year-old rim joists and found that the lumber behind them was dark and starting to decay. What homeowners thought was insulation protecting their house had actually been letting air through the entire time, trapping moisture against the structure it was supposed to protect. This was the standard fix for decades, and it was worse than nothing. Installed in tens of millions of American homes, done exactly as it was supposed to be done, but it was the wrong solution the whole time. Now, let me put some numbers on what actually fixes the problem. A 12-ounce can of great stuff expanding foam at Home Depot costs just $4.48. A typical house needs 2 to 3 cans to completely air seal the entire rim joist perimeter. Every gap, every seam, every pipe penetration. That's $10 to $15 materials for a full air seal at the single biggest infiltration point in the building. Add 2 sheets of 2-inch rigid foam board for added R value, and you're looking at $60 to $80 total. Half an afternoon of work. Now, if you call a professional spray foam contractor to do the job for you, it'll cost you $1, $300 to $3 Call an HVAC technician about your cold floors, and the conversation will head in a completely different direction. They'll talk about a new furnace, upgraded attic insulation, new ductwork, $5, $200, $10, $1,000, maybe $15 And meanwhile, the leak itself is costing you somewhere between $250 to $400 per year in extra heating and cooling costs every single year for as long as you own the house on a 30-year mortgage. That adds up to over $1,000 in energy paid to condition air that leaked out of your basement before your thermostat even had a chance to register it. The $10 fix, it's never part of these conversations. It's always overlooked. So how do you know if your house has this issue right now? There's a simple test that takes less than 30 seconds. Light a stick of incense or a candle on a cold, windy day. Hold it near the seam where your foundation wall meets the wooden framing. Watch what the smoke does. If the smoke pulls sideways toward the wall, you've got active air infiltration right there. Move the incense along the perimeter. Every place the smoke tilts, there's a leak. This is the same principle that a certified energy auditor uses with a professional smoke pencil during a blower door test, just without the fancy equipment. It's free, it's easy, and you'll likely find leaks within 30 seconds. So why isn't this information everywhere? It's not that anyone buried it. Building Science Corporation has been publishing on rim joist leaks since the 1990s. Energy Star promotes it. The 2012 International Residential Code made rim joist air sealing a requirement in new construction. That was 14 years ago. Yet, in those 14 years, no one has knocked on your door to tell you about it. This information has been there all along. It just hasn't been where you'd ever see it. Walk through the typical path a homeowner takes when they notice cold floors. They call an HVAC company. The HVAC tech makes more money off selling a furnace than diagnosing a problem. The insulation contractor's minimum job starts at $1, $300 because they've got to cover the cost of the truck, rig, and insurance. The utility company makes more money when your heater runs longer. The homeowner is the only person in that chain who would actually benefit from knowing about the $10 can of foam, and yet the homeowner is the only one who's never in the room. This isn't suppression. It's simply that every arrow in the system points somewhere other than the one answer that could actually help. Now, if you want to tackle this yourself, here's what you need to know. First off, this isn't a silver bullet. If your attic leaks too, you need to seal that as well. The stack effect, this whole air leak problem, runs on both the top and the bottom of your house. Sealing only the basement moves the problem, but doesn't fix it. The Energy Star guidance is clear. Seal the attic first, then the basement. Holes in the attic leak more air than those in the basement, and the rim joist is the biggest leak at the bottom. Next, and this is crucial, if you have a natural draft gas furnace, gas water heater, or any combustion appliance that vents up a chimney, sealing air leaks reduces how much makeup air is available for that appliance to draft properly. In rare cases, an airtight house with a natural draft appliance could backdraft, meaning that combustion. But don't worry, this is a known issue and it's solvable. The fix is straightforward. Just make sure you have a working carbon monoxide detector on every floor, and if your appliances are old, naturally vented units, have a technician verify the draft performance after you seal the leaks. If you have sealed combustion or direct vent appliances, you're not affected by this at all. This is not a reason to skip the project. When you're ready to tackle it, here's what the job looks like. You head down to your basement on a Saturday morning. You walk over to the wall, you look up, you see it now. The concrete foundation wall with the wooden sill plate sitting right on top of it, and the rim joist running all around the perimeter. The floor joists from the room above meet the rim joist every 16 inches. Each section between the joists is called a joist bay. If you find fiberglass stuffed in there, pull it out and throw it away. What you thought was insulation was never actually doing the job you thought it was. Now, take your can of expanding foam. Shake it up, attach the straw, and start in one corner. Spray a slow bead along the seam where the sill plate meets the concrete. Work your way around the entire perimeter. Then, spray along where the rim joist meets the sill plate. In each joist bay, Spray the small gaps where the subfloor meets the rim joist. And anywhere there's a wire, pipe, or vent that penetrates the framing, fill around it. Don't worry about making it look pretty. Nobody's ever going to see it. You're not decorating, you're plugging a hole. It'll take you 2 hours, maybe 3 if your house is big. The foam cures overnight. The next morning, it's February and the cold air is still outside. You walk down to the basement for a reason completely unrelated to the rim joist. Maybe you're looking for a screwdriver or you're checking the breaker panel. Then you stop. There's something different about the room. It takes you a moment to identify what it is. That faint, constant draft you had stopped noticing years ago? It's gone. The basement is quieter now. The sound of air moving through those gaps, which had been part of the house for as long as you lived there, is no longer part of the house. Upstairs the next morning, you walk into the kitchen in bare feet. The floor isn't warm, but it's not the biting heat sucking cold air from below. The tile feels cool, as it always does, but it's not cold in the same way it used to be. Your furnace cycled once overnight instead of 6 times. Your next gas bill? Lower. Maybe $20, maybe $40. Multiply that by the heating season. Multiply that by the remaining life of the house. This is what $10 of foam and 2 hours of a Saturday bought you. The biggest air leak in your house wasn't behind a wall. It wasn't under the slab. It wasn't something you had to tear out drywall to get to. It was that 8 inches of exposed wood sitting on top of your foundation, in plain sight, and nearly every homeowner in America has walked past it 1,000 times without ever knowing what they were looking at. The fix? It's on the bottom shelf of the insulation aisle at every hardware store in the country, and it costs less than the price of lunch. It's been there for decades, and yet it's been overlooked all this time.